Welcome to Sips and Conversations, episode number 8. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe we are on episode number 8. So, first of all, can you hear me okay? Do a thumbs up if you can hear me. I just want to make sure. I don't see a thumbs up. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Leisha Love. All right, so like I was saying, welcome back to Sips and Conversations. This is episode number 8, and I'm so excited. So cheers to 8 episodes. Today I actually have a nail appointment, so we had to, we gotta do what it do. All right, so forgive the background noise. I do apologize in advance, but then I decided to stop in at my favorite Starbucks and get a delicious chai tea latte. This is my favorite drink of all times. All right. So today we're going to be joined by Amanda Frick, and so excited about this, y'all. Like, she is the owner of Awakened Mind, and so we're going to have conversations completely surrounding how to channel your best you, how to be the best version of you, which we're all about on this show. So go ahead and welcome in Miss Amanda. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, hello. Thank you for allowing me to be here and share this beautiful platform. It's wonderful to see your face.
Yeah, likewise. Okay, so before we jump into our
Yeah,
conversation, I just
yeah,
want to let's hear a little bit about you. Like, who
yeah,
is Amanda? What do you do? And yeah, just give us
yeah.
you.
Well, I love that you're drinking coffee because I'm drinking coffee too.
Oh, how do you take your coffee?
And
First of all,
cream,
cream.
definitely cream,
So is it
but
cream?
sweetened cream.
Okay, so like, is it coffee plus cream or is it cream plus coffee? Like,
It's
what's
cream
the
plus
recipe?
coffee and then more cream.
I love it. I love it.
And I was like, nope, that was the drink of the day for me. I was just
Yes,
like, it has to be coffee. So I take
yes.
my coffee with cream, or more like my cream with some
With
coffee.
some coffee. So cheers
Yeah.
to our coffee date
Cheers.
today.
Happy mid-November. Now that it's
Yeah.
like, I love that you're outside. I love that you're in the sun. I'm in my recording spot, so hopefully you can hear me and the lighting and
Yeah.
everything's good.
I'm usually in the recording spot at my place, and like I literally have been like freaking out because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm by the side of the road. This is so terrible. No one's gonna be able to hear me. I've been like freaking out all day about this right now.
Well,
So
I hear you crystal clear.
yay, yay.
But I was
So
jealous because it's nice outside, but it's
yeah,
like 40 degrees, and I was like, no, I'm not about that right now.
yeah. No, it's way too cold.
It's cold where I'm at.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
yeah. Let's hear all about you, and then we'll kind of jump into the convo.
yeah, absolutely. So I am a married mother of two. I have two boys.
Yeah.
They're 4, and one's about to turn 7. He's 7 going on 15.
Wow.
And
I know the feeling.
yeah, they're crazy, but it's been an insane amount of awesome, weird, crazy journey
Yeah.
being a mom. My
Yeah.
husband and I have been together since high school. We're high school sweethearts. We're going on almost
Wow.
20 years. And he's amazing, and he's always been super supportive of me and everything I do.
Yeah.
But I started Awakened Mind. It's actually like the third rendition of me being out in the world doing my mentoring work with my intuitiveness. So I was born and raised in what we would call a survivalist household
Okay.
nowadays. So
So
very sparse and
okay.
out in the middle of Montana. And that was
Wow.
how I was raised.
Montana.
And I had a God voice. And I was not raised with religion, and I was not raised with spirituality. So I just knew things all the time. And I had what I called my God voice, or the universal voice.
Yeah.
And it was a big, bright light that would follow me around all the time as a child. And I
Wow.
didn't think a whole lot of that, but it would show me things all the time. So like I would stargaze and I would hear about the stars and I would want to like go to the stars. And I knew that I was a soul inside a body from a very, very young age. Like I
Wow.
knew it was way more than just the body.
Yeah.
And as I grew up, becoming an adult, struggling, I was homeschooled in my survivalist home
Wow.
up until high school. And so in ninth grade, when I became around people, I started to notice that I wasn't like everybody else. And nobody else was seeing the things that I was seeing or hearing the things that I was hearing.
Yeah.
And had a bit of a struggle there, obviously, years of
Yeah.
struggle. And then once I surrendered that what was happening inside my head was actually happening, that's when everything in my life changed. And I started my spiritual journey, and I remembered why I'm here
Yeah.
and what I can do with it and bring it to the world. So
Yeah.
I perceive energy in multiple frequencies, both in this dimensional timeline and in others, which has led me to like beautiful connections with angelic beings and higher selves and souls, and being able to see into the souls of people and
Yeah.
help guide people through the stuff of life that
Yeah.
really holds us back from being embodied in our soul selves.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's a little
Okay.
bit about me.
Yeah, that's so. I mean, I just think it's just so unique and very almost impressive, to be honest, that at
Well,
such
thank
a
you.
young age you were able to just accept the fact that like you did not create yourself, right? Like that
Right.
you're in this world for a purpose. And I'm really big on purpose driven lives and listening to what like our spirits are really calling us to do.
Right.
Um, me being West African, like we're very spiritual people and very religious people at the same time. So everything is, oh, thank you, God. And
Yeah.
then at the same, like literally at the exact same time, you're like praying to your ancestors, right? To like
Yes.
guide you and as you walk through this path. And
Mhm.
so growing up, I actually kind of like was like, this is kind of weird, y'all. But now that I'm older, I totally understand it. So, so what
That's
kind of
amazing to me.
yeah, yeah. So like you being with your husband for so long, how has that kind of played into your marriage, your
Oh
spirituality?
man. So like when we were young, because we met in high school,
Hmm.
uh, first couple of years of high school were some of the worst for me, with between the culture shock of not being around people my own age, plus being raised a survivalist. Survivalist mindset's hard.
Can
You
I
think that,
stop you for 1 second? Can you explain that? Like what's a
oh,
survivalist?
so a survivalist is somebody who believes in living off grid and living off the land.
Okay.
So I grew up, when I was raised in my really early years, we didn't have hardwood floors. We had dirt floors. We didn't have
Wow.
electricity. We had houses.
Wow.
We hunter gathered our food. We heated with wood. So we cut wood all summer long. And it was really extreme. And then we didn't get plumbing in the house until I was 6 or 7. And
Wow.
by that time, I was already learning how to hunt and how to trap and how to build shelters, how to survive in the wild, in the wilderness, and how to be a fur trapper. My dad actually made that his main gig for like 14 years. He was a fur trapper, and that's what we did. And then
You said
my
a fur trapper, so like
Mhm.
for like like coats and stuff like that. So
Yep,
okay, wow, that's like a whole
yep,
career path.
yep.
Wow, like that's
So,
I'm mind boggled.
yes.
Okay, I don't want to like gross people out, but like what's the process?
Oh my gosh,
Is
of
it
like
a lot?
animals.
Yeah, like so like you trap them like in a trap. Like I'm in
Right.
my okay, so in my head I'm envisioning legit like a mouse
Yeah.
trap. And
Okay.
like a big one, I don't know. And
Okay.
then the animal gets in a closet,
Uh-huh.
and you have to go and get it out. I guess this is like TV,
Uh-huh.
right? TV has trained my brain this way. And
No, I
then
totally
you get the fur, like you skin the
agree.
animal or whatever. That's probably not how it actually works.
It's very close to how it actually
Okay,
works.
okay,
My dad was amazing. One of the things that I learned from my father was a massive amount of respect for nature,
yeah.
because my dad was incredibly respective of nature. And as an adult, it kind of like conflicted in my head. How can you respect nature and then also kill things?
At the same time. Mhm.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. But growing up that way, that's what you do. There's varying different types of traps. And I know that like not so much social media, but like movies really villainize traps.
Mhm. Yeah.
Animals or they hurt animals and stuff like that, and they actually don't. Like most traps are just designed to hold an animal in place, and then you actually have to do the killing when you get there.
Oh, got you.
My
Okay.
dad, my dad was a fur trapper for primarily coyotes and muskrats and beavers, the occasional otter, but those are by special permit. So, like, we learned the mentality of wild animals. We had to learn how to coexist with them, first of all, because we were out in nature all the time. And out in Montana,
Yeah.
and there's grizzlies and there's moose and there's elk, and we were avid hunters because I had a large family. There was 7 of us. We would all go out
Wow.
hunting in season. It was like huge family tradition because that would be our food for the next 12 months. So we all,
Wow.
from the age that we could on. And but that's the process. You learn how these animals think, you learn their patterns, you learn their territories, and then you go strategically place traps where they will naturally follow in paths. We did use lures, but not too often, and most of those were scent lures because animals are incredibly smart and will avoid humans like at all costs. And so
Yeah.
if there's more than one person at a set any given time, or if you checked the set too often, they would avoid the area. And so
Yeah.
like it was so in depth on how does nature work and how can you put yourself in it to survive. And that was
Wow.
probably one of the best things I got from my upbringing was that connection with that process. But then you do go and kill them and then skin them, and
Yeah.
then you have to prepare the hides a certain way and then turn around and sell them.
And all the other. Wow.
Yeah.
So like the level. So you've always really been. It's almost like you didn't have a choice but to kind of get connected with,
Oh, I had no choice.
right?
Yeah.
Like kind of being out there on your own. Anyway, I know
Yeah.
we kind of derailed a little bit,
No,
but I
that's
just want to know what
okay.
a survivalist was.
No,
So,
absolutely.
so did you
It's
meet? You
kind of
met your husband in high school. So at this time,
yeah,
you all were no longer living as survivalists, I would assume, or
correct.
okay,
The mindset was still there, but the environment had changed.
yeah,
Because it's really a mindset to get into, because when you are in survival mode all the time, you're always planning to die. You
yeah,
always are planning to
wow,
die, or you're planning for things to be hard. And
wow,
so the anticipation is always that it's going to be hard. And then they took us out of that, and I got to go to a public school. And when I got into the public school, the first year, ninth grade, I did not meet my husband yet. But my sister started dating my husband's best friend at the time. Like within the first year we were there.
okay.
And I was like, that's
She was
insane.
like,
So
"Oh, a man, let me."
she was. She was like, yeah, she was the trendsetter. She
Yeah.
was the makeup artist at 15 who was
Oh
like, no,
wow,
I'm gonna be on point. She went from survivalist to like diva. And
diva.
she was, I'm in it.
Oh,
And she was setting fashion trends, and it was a whole thing. So within that first year,
yeah. So Alicia says, yeah, a lot of people that grew up in the in the hood
yeah, how
say
am
the
I gonna
same thing
survive?
about having survival mindset.
Yes.
Wow,
It's very
wow,
fearful. And
interesting. Yeah. So
so then
so y'all met.
yep, met through that. And when I was young, I used to have all kinds of premonitions, and it was an awesome story that I am getting ready to tell on my podcast, because there's a whole unfolding of it. Because when I was young and I was having those conversations with my God voice,
Yeah,
um, I was always shown this like silhouette of a man, and they were like, "This is the person you're going to marry."
yeah.
And I was like 9 years old, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm not getting married. I'm going to have a baby girl, and I'm going to live in a cabin in the woods, and I'm going to be alone forever.
Forever.
That's my dream life."
Yeah,
Because at 9, that was the thing. I just wanted to have a daughter and live on the land in my survivalist world.
yeah. That's all you knew at that
And
time.
that's
So
all I knew.
yeah,
And so it was outrageous to me that that would even be a thing. And then when we actually moved from Michigan, or from Montana to Michigan, where we are now, I was 15, almost 16.
hmm,
And I kept waking up in the middle of the night. The first 30 days I was in Michigan as a teenager, I was waking up in the middle of the night at like 3:30 every single night. And I would get up and I would look out my window, and I would see this man coming up to meet me. He's like, "I'm here for you." And I couldn't see his face,
wow.
but I knew all of his features. And for
Yeah,
30 straight days, I was having this vision every single night for 30 straight
wow.
days. And I was like, who is this person?
Yeah,
When I did meet him, he lived less than 4 miles from where I was living.
wow.
And I didn't know it was him. And one of the things that I was told, like, I was told he's going to have your color eyes. He's going to be like 2 inches taller than you. He's going to be less than a year older than you. He's going to be average build, average height. He's going to have broad shoulders. He's going to have dark hair. I mean, like specifics growing up.
So, like me, I'm the type of person that, look, let me get that kind of exact foresight. I'm looking. I had a dream once, um, that I was dating or I was with someone, whether that was someone I was dating or a husband or whatever, and we had a little girl that was somewhere around. And but
Yeah.
then it was a brown couch, right, that I recall being on. And so, like, any time that I would like date someone, I would be like, "What color is your couch?"
Right? Is it half brown? You got any kids yet? You have a daughter?
And I actually met a guy who had like a leather couch and he had a daughter. I was like, "Oh, is this my husband?" No, there's no way. And thankfully, no.
Right.
But it was just really funny.
Thankfully, no. It was, yeah. I feel like I'm giving you the long version of all my experiences. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, no, no, you're good. You're good. It's girl talk. It's girl talk. Okay, so let's kind of fast forward to you all,
Yep.
have kids and all that good
Yep.
jazz. What was your turning point in which you said, "I want to take my gift and kind of
Mm.
turn that to help people"?
So I was dealing with massive amounts of manic depression.
Wow.
I just did a podcast on that because since I started immersing myself in my spiritual journey in 2010. And that's when I really started becoming active in like spiritual communities and really figuring out what it is that my brain could do.
Yeah.
But the thing that really put me in that situation was the manic depressiveness of trying to suppress my brain.
Yeah.
I would go through 9 or 10 months of such extreme depression that I couldn't function. And when we made the move, so we moved from Michigan to North Carolina, the visions got very intense and just kept coming. And I couldn't push them away. And they were stuff that I was seeing happening in front of me. And I couldn't suppress it. And that's what did me in. And I hadn't talked to that God voice in about, like, I don't know, 10 years up until that point,
Wow.
maybe. And that's a whole other story in of itself. And then one day I couldn't function anymore and I said, "There's no way to live and I'm not gonna kill myself. So whatever you tell me to do and whatever you show me, just show me and I'll do it." And immediately that voice was like right there and said, "The next time you are invited to go somewhere with your friend, you say yes." And I said, "Okay, I'll say yes." And the same day, after having this huge meltdown, my
Yeah.
friend showed up and said, "Hey, um, there's a spiritual event. There's going to be Reiki healers. There's going to be an astrologer there. Do you want to go with me?" And I said, "Yes." And his jaw dropped. He was like, "You never say yes." I'm like, "I'm saying yes today, babe.
Yeah.
Go." And an hour later, I was walking into that room, and my God voice showed me all of these matrices of lights. I was perceiving all of these interconnected lights of all these people, and one lit up, and he said, "You're here to go see that person." And I said, "Okay, I'm going to be line for that person." His name was Phoenix, rolled on, and I said, "Hey, I'm here to meet you." And he looks at me, and he looks above my head, like way up, and then he looks way down. He goes, "Yeah, you are." And I was
Wow.
like, and that is what brought me on my spiritual journey, was seeking understanding of the insanity that was my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like how do you kind of, bring your gifts to the world and, share that and how are you affecting people today with that?
Most of the things that I learned over the last 10 years have been in the area of learning about energy in multiple frequencies.
Okay.
I go out and I learn all of these intricate things about how to hold space and energy for people, and then I show other people how to do it for themselves. I meditate
What
with people.
what does that mean? Holding space and holding energy.
Mm. So if you can imagine that, you know how in the movies they show energy as like bright beams of light, like
Yes.
rays, or like
Yes.
glitter,
Yeah.
like bubble. Okay, so
Yeah.
everybody's got a glitter bubble.
Yeah.
When you pay attention to the glitter bubble, it gets bigger, and you can fill it with more. Well, when
Okay.
another person enters your glitter bubble, your bubbles combine, and you are now, if you are the dominant conscious person, your bubble will hold their bubble in your space to allow them to heal.
So it's kind of like, okay, because like there's certain people that do have the gift of, like, for instance, this is not like to say I'm a healer or anything like that, right? But I do tend to make people feel really comfortable. And it
Yeah,
happens like all the time. Like people will be like, I don't know why I just told you all that. Or, I haven't had someone at work tell me recently, like, I've been here for X, Y, Z amount of years, and I've never had anyone that I could share this with. And I'm like,
love
oh,
that.
okay. And I just kind of like brush it off. So
Yes,
essentially, what you're saying is, though, that there's certain people that just have that natural energy
yes,
about themselves, and you're able to kind of pull people in.
yes.
Yeah, depression. Yeah, depression is no joke. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And it's one of those things that everybody is in some way, shape, or form holding space for other people. Every human being is subconsciously gauging everyone's energy around them against their own energy. It is not a conscious thought, but they can feel those who are open and willing and gentle with them
Yeah.
and find themselves naturally doing it.
So then, how do you? So let's say that we just had a comment. Depression is
Um,
no joke. So let's say that you are going through depression, right?
mhm,
How do you connect with someone? Or what if the person that you're connecting with, if their energy is greater than yours and it's negative and it's pulling you down? Because I
mhm,
actually had a friend who, um, she would suffer from depression,
mhm.
and but part of it was other people's energies were pulling her
Yeah,
down. And so, like,
yeah.
how do you cope with that, or how do you cleanse that, I guess you
There,
could.
there are so many steps in shifting a negative frequency to a positive frequency that there's a whole streamlined process of it. First,
Oh wow.
there's acknowledgement that, okay, I have an energy drain that is pulling me down.
Hmm.
Is it coming from me or is it coming from other people or both? Because there's always the combination.
Yeah.
People do have the ability to take, but they can't take from your energy body what you aren't willing to give up.
Ooh, that's deep.
Yeah. And
That is
so
that's one of those. Can you say that louder for the people in the back of the room? Okay.
so when it comes to energy, there's always an exchange of energy, and people cannot take from you what you are not willing to give up.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of people give up their power. A lot of people give up power. They give up power over guilt. They give up power over shame. They give up of themselves because they don't feel worthy of doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And there's a whole step by step process that I've walked my clients through of identifying, shifting, meditating, disconnecting with, and there's a whole learning curve around it to say this is who you are and here's how you find it and here's how you disconnect from that to be able to move up in your emotional status. So much emotional energy is not divine. Emotional energy comes from our brain.
Yeah.
Emotional energy comes from the synapses in our brain telling our body to have a physiological reaction that then floats around and we share with everybody else. When
Yeah.
we tap into that soul self, that soul frequency that's like inside all the time, when we tap into that, it's joy and it's ecstasy and it's extreme, ecstatic, and it stays that way. And then
Yeah.
it disconnects negativity from it and it transmutes negativity from those spaces. It takes practice.
There's just so much going through my mind right now. Just want to Pezzo said, yes, ma'am. That's why we as people have to have great energy around you to pull you through. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So as you're speaking through this, so I had like a really long. Let's see, gotta get you a talk show.
I can't see comments. I'm sad.
Oh no, yeah. Thanks,
It's
Pezzo.
okay.
But yeah, so I had gone through, I was in a long-term relationship with my son's father, and I left that, and it took me about, I went through like a healing process about a year and a half or so.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
just kind of like, I don't want to call it finding myself, but I just wanted to like be alone. And I didn't really understand that. And some people are like, well, you deal with things differently than others. But at the same time, I was in a place of like true, like, contentment, right? Like
Right.
I
Yeah.
was able to hear my own voice again and feel my own emotions again. And
Mm-hmm.
many, many years later, now I'm in a place where like you can't steal my joy. I have certain days where
Yeah.
it's rough, it's
It's
hard, but
harder.
like you can't steal my joy. So what you just said, stripping away the negativity, I think that's definitely the hardest part. Like you had mentioned, people don't think that they are worthy.
Yeah.
So what would you say, to someone that is like, I don't think that I'm worthy of a positive space? Or is there anything that you could say to someone?
I always, especially in those things, because we don't hear it enough, especially from other women, because I find that women judge other women more harshly than men judge other women. And
How do you find that? I'm sorry. I would like to noodle just a little bit on that concept.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because I'm sure you feel what I'm talking about there.
Yes.
And anytime I have been a part of a group or a group setting, anytime you watch people get big on social media,
Mm-hmm.
I remember Game of Thrones, right? Game of
Yeah.
Thrones was huge, and it had a huge following. And there was an actress on there who refused to do her own nudity scenes,
Uh-huh.
and so she got a body double to stand in for her because she refused to be naked on screen. Which good for her.
Good
Like
for
that's
you,
her comfort
girl.
level. What she wants to
Exactly.
do what you want.
Exactly.
Another girl on the show did her own nudity scenes, and she got slammed for doing her own nudity scenes by other women in the comments of everything. She was getting hate mail over it. And I thought,
What?
man, that is so not okay. like, but people on the internet, they get that way. So then
Yeah.
the more I'm a part of these spiritualist groups and things, the more that I see really insecure females feeling that unworthiness and then sharing it with other females.
Golly. And
So
that's
it's
so dangerous.
exhausting. It
It's so
is
exhausting. And it's such a
exhausting.
dangerous place to be if you're not comfortable in who you are, right? Like if you've
Right.
not done the work and you're not healed and you're not like, you don't have joy, because happiness
Right.
and joy, that's why I love that we use the word joy. I
They're
think
different.
happiness, they're so different,
Very different.
Yeah. How would you
Yeah.
define joy?
How do I define joy?
Yeah.
I feel like it's indefinable. It is a state of existence where everything is harmony, everything is joy, everything is love and
Yeah.
peace and open,
Yeah.
and it's so non-restrictive. It's
Yes.
non-restrictive. It's
Yeah.
expansive. That's how I
Yeah.
describe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. I love that.
when
Non-restrictive. Yeah.
when I sit with someone in what I do, if I and I a lot of what I do is building people up, building women up, building my clients up. I work with both women and men.
Awesome.
Obviously, I appeal more to women because men have a harder time getting past that barrier of spirituality. Like, I don't want people to think I'm crazy. Guys
Hmm.
have a harder time with that.
Yeah.
I'm stereotyping, of course. I apologize for any men out there who is
No,
upset by that.
it's a fact because like even
It is.
when I was like I'm part of a church. I'm not right now, and I get judged for that sometimes, but it's okay. But
Everybody's gonna judge.
right, right. So even at that time, it was like they said that in the church that a lot of women, you see a lot of women at church, and
Yes.
there's not as many men at church. And it's
Yes.
because men, from what and it was a male pastor that was actually, it was a whole message. Because from his perspective, it's hard for a man to kneel down to another being, right?
Surrender. Yeah.
To
Surrender.
surrender,
Yeah.
to
It
surrender.
is.
Yeah,
Mm.
so that doesn't surprise me necessarily.
That original question, what do I say to somebody when they're battling unworthiness?
Yeah.
So I am incredibly straightforward with people, especially when I'm in what I would like my channel mode where I'm embodying certain energies or my higher self that needs to work with the person. And I always tell them exactly what I see in them and why it's great.
Yeah.
And it is in that that people can choose to find and believe what I'm saying or not. And that's their choice.
Yeah.
And people forget they have choices. They might not like their choices, but they have choices.
Yeah.
They can choose to come out of the feeling of unworthiness. They can choose to come out of depression,
Yeah.
but they have to learn and desire to how to do the work to do it. I know for me, when I chose my spiritual path, my depression, my anxiety, all of that left me because the internal conflict between I'm crazy, I don't fit in, I'm not worthy, why me, blah, 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 victim
Yeah.
brain was constantly at conflict with itself. And when I just surrendered, like, this is the way I am, and that is okay to be the way I am, a lot of the depression left.
Yes.
And then when I started doing exactly what I saw and what I felt and what I was literally told to do by this
Mhm.
giant disembodied voice,
Yeah.
my life just unfolded in front of me. And
Yeah. It
it
completely
has been
changes.
completely different. And
Yeah.
my husband's been there for the whole thing.
This is better. Sorry about that. I had to just move a little
No,
bit.
it's okay. Sun in your face.
The sun was all in my face. But yeah, so yeah, actually understanding who you are can definitely, it just frees you. And it's like you don't have to keep putting on a facade every single day, because
Right.
I think that's what's depressing. It's like
It is.
no
Yeah.
one understands me. I don't fit in. Guess what? We don't fit in. It's okay. A few weeks ago, I had
Exactly.
one of my good friends, Alicia. She was on here, and we were talking about grief.
Oh,
And
yeah. Grief.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
monster.
yeah. And the fact that once you can accept that you will never be the same person that you were before you lost whatever it was, that job, or that parent, that friend, um, before you heck even gained weight or lost a significant amount of weight, before you got that diagnosis, right? Like once you can
Right.
accept the fact that no, I am different now, then it removes that pressure of being somebody else,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
And to
Yep.
Cuzzo's point right here, she was saying, what, any dating advice? I've been out of the dating game for 18 years because I was busy raising my daughter. Um, I'm lost now, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if women want or need love, or just want a man with money. Um, so yeah, so to someone that has, I guess, in a way, you lose yourself when
Mm-hmm.
you take
Yeah.
time out just to raise your kid. Um, how what would be just some advice, not necessarily dating advice, I would say, just to find
Right.
yourself again. Like, how do you find
Right.
yourself again through that?
So I feel like people are constantly finding themselves over anew, especially over the last 2 years with
Hmm.
the pandemic and losing so many people like this. I consider it kind of a mass exodus, for lack of better terms,
Yes.
people losing a lot of people and having to go through large amounts of grief. We're always going to be trying to find ourselves. And it's in the direction that you look that I say is the most important, because you're not going to find yourself in other people. You're not going to find yourself in your environment. You are only going to find yourself within yourself, taking time for yourself, asking yourself the hard questions. This is who I used to be. Write it out. Who am I
Yes.
now?
Yes.
And it's such a huge thing. This whole theme for this year, everybody that I've been working with, anybody reaching out to me, has been a huge thing. Who am I? Who
Yeah.
am I now? Where am
Yeah.
I going now?
Yeah.
I talk a lot about character and principle. I'm a principle based person. I keep people in my life that align with my principle of being in existence. Like, I could tell you my principles. A lot of people don't know what principles they live by. And so I always encourage people, ask yourself, what are my principles? What are
Yes.
my boundaries with
Yes.
other people?
Yes.
Because you're not going to find it in anyone else.
Yeah.
And you want to find someone that aligns with you
Yeah.
and where you are.
Yeah. So like definitely step one of even trying to get back in, before you even
Yep.
talk about dating, it's like,
Yep.
who am I?
Who am I? What do I stand
What
for?
do I
What do I
stand
want
for?
to represent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Even
that's
if it's, I talk a lot to people who don't own their own businesses. I apply also to your career. What career are
yes,
you in that you're
yes,
doing? And is it serving your greater purpose where you want to go, or is it not?
yes.
Like those, all of those avenues. That's always where I start.
Yeah, yeah.
Who am I
So
now? Where do I want to be?
where do I want to be at? And I love the fact that you even brought up even like in work, right? Because um, it's so easy to wake up every day and just go to work. I was actually listening to a podcast. Anybody that knows me is like, Nancy starts off every sentence. I was listening to a podcast. Okay, yes, I was listening to a podcast. And thank you, Tessa. Amanda, you just got a new follower.
Thank you. I
um,
appreciate you.
yeah, thank you. Shout out. Yeah, so I was actually listening to a podcast, and what's her name? Is it B Simone? I think it's B Simone.
Mhm.
She was on there. I'm not that familiar with her. Like I know who she is, and I know she's a comedian. So I just wanted to kind of figure out her story and hear that.
Yeah.
And so she had mentioned that I guess at some point, either earlier this year or sometime last year, she had gotten a lot of flack about. She made a comment saying that she will not date a man that is not an entrepreneur. That was like what she said. She's like, I will not date a man that works a typical 9 to 5.
Mhm.
And everybody canceled her. Like she got canceled. It was like, who is she?
Oh,
Delete, 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 right?
man.
And because who wants to hear that, oh, this person won't date me, right?
Right.
Or you as a woman who wants to hear like, oh, well, what's wrong with my man? Like he works 9 to 5. You said there's
Right.
nothing wrong with my man.
Right. Insecurities.
Insecurities. And so she went on to say the reason why she said that. She's like, first of all, God led her to say that because it brought her so much embarrassment through that whole process. Um, but now she uses it at the end of her shows, at the end of her skits. She's on tour. She's like, I say, okay, y'all watch me say I will not date a man that is not an entrepreneur, right? And everybody's like, yep. So she's like, so who in here works 9 to 5? She's like, everybody, everyone's raising their hand. And then she's like, who in here can work that 9 to 5 for the next 50 years? They
Yep.
all put their hands down.
Yep.
She said, everybody that put their hands down, um, the people that their hands were left up, she said, I'm not talking to you.
There you
She
go.
was talking to the ones that put their hands down. She's like, you
There
are
you go.
walking into someone else's facility every single day. You don't even know why you're there.
Yep.
She's like, I can't. She's like, I can't be with someone that's passionless. I can't be with someone that's not driven. No, people that work 9 to 5s are the hardest working people. You're waking up every day. You're forced to go and make money for someone else's company, right?
Yeah.
That you see in a paycheck, but it's just a portion of that. She's like,
Right.
but when you don't have that passion and you don't know why you're doing it, that's what I have a problem with. So that
Yes.
man, I will never be with. I was like,
Yep. As soon as you said that, I had like three reasons in my head. Number one, they have no drive. They are living a passionless life,
yes,
and they're doing it all the time. Now, that's again, I'm stereotyping that because there are people out there that work that 9 to 5 and love it. But that was one of the first things that popped into my head.
yes,
Like,
yes,
people don't want to do their 9 to 5s typically for
right,
the rest of their lives unless
right,
it's something they're passionate about. I
right,
totally get that.
right.
And everybody that wants to like spread hate on someone else's personal choices, it's like, what's your emotional baggage you're not looking at? You can go ahead and
Really?
cancel me for my choices, but have
Yep.
you looked at yours and why
Right.
that upset you?
Right. 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 Like it should not be so upsetting. And like,
Right.
you know, yeah, so I love that you said that. Like,
Yeah.
being the best version of yourself, even like in the workplace and
Yep.
beyond. Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite phrases that I attempt to incorporate in many of the things that I do. I People have to choose to become offended. And I will never forget
Ooh.
when I went to the seminar, because learning the difference between somebody with an entrepreneurial mindset and a job mindset is a big deal. And if you can identify early on where your mindset's falling, you'll have an easier time.
Sorry, the elements. The elements are. It's the elements.
Do you have bees? Bees are a good omen. I hope it's a bee and not a horsefly.
I think it's. Yeah, I guess. Okay, I hope it's a B too. Then I just wanted to go on. Okay, my bad. I didn't mean to
I love it.
interrupt anything. I'm
I
so
love
sorry.
it. No, I love it. So I identified early on in my early 20s that I was an entrepreneurial mindset. I used to be a workaholic. I started working at 16. Obviously, I was a survivalist. If I wasn't working, I wasn't worth anything in my head.
Facts, yeah.
And,
A survivalist is low key like Alicia said earlier, someone from the hood, but also an
yep.
immigrant because like immigrants, yo, what
Mm,
you mean
yep.
you're not trying to go out here and do way more,
Right.
right?
Work for
Than
like 100 hours a week.
exactly like what are you
Yeah.
talking about? Like, no, I got 8 jobs. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Nope, I
Anyway,
get it.
sorry to cut you off.
I identified early on I was of the entrepreneurial mindset because I developed a passion for leadership through a multi-level marketing company that no longer exists, which I was really depressed that it broke up because it was based on leadership principles and
Oh wow.
learning how to become a leader and how to better yourself, not only in business, but in your life and your relationships and self-awareness. It was a company that focused on self-awareness, and I loved it, and I just devoured the material through that. And I went to multiple seminars of theirs, where the leaders get up and talk about the business and their principles and all that stuff. And
Hmm.
one of the things that he said one day when we were up there was, you have to really come out of a victim mindset in order to excel in what you want to do. But take
Ooh.
offense to everything. They become offended over anything that anyone says because they will flip it around all the time. And he said, but what most people don't realize is you have the choice to be offended or not. You don't
That's
have to take
deep.
everything everybody says to heart. You don't have to take everything as an insult to you. Pretend they're not talking to you. And ever since that day, I must have been like
Wow.
21. Ever since that day, I'm like, man, I have a hard time becoming offended because unless somebody tells me to my face, that is the problem they have with me, I then still have to choose to internalize that. Like, if
Yeah.
the opinion matters so much to me that I'm going to be offended that they don't like me, like it was a whole world changer in my life.
I got stuck face right now. Yes. Alicia said that part. Yes, the spirit of
Yeah,
defense. Like,
yeah.
I don't even know what to say. I really don't. I don't right now.
Is that good or
You
bad?
have to choose. No, I'm usually not kind of speechless because I've never
Yeah.
really, I guess, thought about it in that way before. Like that you have to make the choice that
Yes.
I'm going. No, I decide for you to offend me. Like,
Yes.
wait, what? Like
Yes.
that is
Take
such
that
a
power back.
level of power.
Yes.
What? That is absolutely. That needs to be on a shirt. That needs to be on
Right.
your mirror every single day. Like legit. Like
Yes.
today, I choose not to be offended.
Yes. I used to have that on in my house. I wrote it out and I printed it out really big and I stuck it on my wall for like 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Um.
It's a
Yeah.
it's a life changing perspective of like, wow, I actually have the power to do that. Yeah, you do.
But I think we're raised and
Yep.
society tells us that when someone says that we're not good enough, when someone says X, Y, and Z, that it's a personal attack. But
Yes.
the choice to not be offended, taking that power, you're literally saying, no, I'm not receiving that.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Like yesterday, so I have the sniffles. I've got the
Yep.
sniffles. Yesterday,
Yep.
somebody was telling me, oh, you sound like you shouldn't be here in the office. And I was like, I do not have COVID.
Right. Right.
And
It's not COVID.
I got the sniffles.
Yep.
And I guess in a way, I was like, no, I don't receive that you're putting on me.
Right.
But I've never really thought of saying, like, no, I don't receive your offense.
Right.
Like, you're trying to offend me right now. And it's like,
Yeah. Or trying to give fear. Like, oh, I'm afraid. You should be
Yeah,
afraid.
you should be afraid
No,
as well. No, I choose
I
not
don't
to
have to be
be.
afraid.
That's so powerful. Okay, Lisa, the book, there's this book called Spirit of Offense. Okay, I might need to read that. That's what it talks about. Because the devil wants us to stay offended. That's very true because it will hold you back.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you're always in a place of offense, you can't listen to any positive feedback at
Right.
all. And so lack of coachability. Ooh, that's yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a great point. Okay. Puzzle says, a great partner can push. Sorry, y'all, about the noise. Oh my goodness, it's just so ratchet.
It's
I'm so
not
sorry.
bad.
A great partner can push you to do greater things. I used to work a 9 to 5, and my daughter pushed me before she was called to greater things. Yeah, and you know what,
Yeah.
Puzzle? I love the fact that you said a great partner can push you, but then
Mm-hmm.
you also reverence that that partner was your daughter, because I think a
Right.
lot of times people, I feel like today, like modern day society, puts like your relationship, like your partner is your whoever you're in a relationship with, right? And I feel like
Yes.
modern day society dictates or deems that it's that partner that should be your everything. They should be your motivator. They should be
Yeah.
your inspirer. They should be, if you're a woman, the man that takes care of your hair, your nails, pays your car note, your all these bills. Like they should be all
Yep.
these things
Yep.
because of, like she just said, like no, her partner was her daughter.
Yes. I did a great workshop one time addressing people asking questions about polyamorous relationships, because it talks about the topic of, okay, so I'm going to choose this one person and I'm going to make that one person 100% of my everything, whether or
Mm-hmm.
not I have the capability to fulfill that role or not. That
Yeah,
is now their responsibility.
yeah.
And as a society, that's what we've done
Mm-hmm.
with everybody. And then it's really sad because then I, unfortunately watch people then also do that to their children
Yep.
and their parents. And yeah, it's a whole nother level of training there
Yeah.
that we then get to try to unlearn as adults if people, want to unlearn that.
Yeah, and it's a
Yeah,
choice, I think, to
exactly.
want to unlearn that. Because when you go backwards, like my parents didn't have that level of, they didn't put that demand on one another, right? Like they still don't. Like, um, but yeah, society has taught us that that's what you need to do.
Oh
Um,
yeah, for sure.
oh my bad, because oh god, my glasses. You sure are. Oh my goodness, my bad. What's your name? What's your actual name? What's up, Cuzzo? So I can reference you as such. Um, um,
Right?
yeah, but anywho, that's I lost my whole train of thought just now. I'm
That's
so
okay.
sorry.
I feel like
Oh
you're still
geez,
floating in the perspective shift of I don't have to take that,
I really
which is
am.
huge.
It's so big, and that's something that I'm going to actually talk to my son about because
Fantastic.
he's 10 and
Mhm.
he's at that age where he's at that age where um everything is offensive, right?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
he doesn't have, you know, confidence really in who he is as a person yet. And he's so
Right.
young. He wants to fit in and so, one thing that we've been working on is just like what do they matter? Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of what I've been preaching to him, but the that whole offense thing, yeah, like
It's huge.
it's just completely thrown me for such a loop. Um, yeah, so you mentioned you have a podcast. So if you can,
I
I
do.
want, so what's up with the podcast? Where's your podcast? Where can people find you?
Yep.
Um, and what kind of things do you talk about on the
Absolutely.
podcast?
So my podcast is called Journey into Consciousness. And you can find it wherever you find podcasts. It's Journey into Consciousness with Amanda Frick. And it is a diary style podcast. And so I talk about what it's like being inside my head
Yeah,
and some of my daily or monthly ongoing things that happen to me or that I experience or that I deal with. And then I talk about my meditation experiences, my awakening experiences when I first had my enlightened experience, which
yeah,
I feel like enlightenment and awakening and awakened, all these big buzzwords, like they have actual events that like happen for those things to happen. And I share all of those experiences. So I share my childhood. Like I said, I'm getting ready to talk about my relationship and how I met my husband and how I knew him before I met him.
Yeah.
And then our relationship growing together. We were together for 10 years before we had children. And what that was
Wow.
like, like,
Well, I guess you met
um,
so young, so yeah, that's
yeah,
great.
right. We met early on,
Yeah.
and so it's a diary style, and I share all my stories and experiences there. I also do. I talk about my meditation platform because I offer free meditations through
Wow.
teachable.com, and I'm getting ready to upload like the full moon lunar eclipse meditation today.
Oh, wow.
And it has every month has a different theme, and I was super excited to roll that out because I've been learning that platform for 3 months. And I was finally able to roll it out on
Yeah,
the
that's so
3rd of
exciting.
November. So that's all available for people to on Teachable. And I'll make sure to get links and everything for people who want on there.
What's
I
the
also have a newsletter.
where can we find the meditation guide?
It's free monthly meditations, but it's on Teachable. Teachable.com/monthly_meditations.
I'm trying to
Which
type it in.
actually I will make sure to link it. I can link it in the chat because I have my computer
Oh
with
yeah,
me.
there you go. If you can do that, that'd be great. Then
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
way I'm not I'm
And
not typing with like a fake one hand.
no, don't do it. Don't do it. So, but that's where I offer, that's all my free stuff is on that
So
platform.
dope.
So you
Yeah.
just sign up for it and you have access to it. I do journal questions on there. I'm like, here's what we're asking ourselves this month. This is
I
what we're
love
diving
it.
into.
I love it. I love it. So which
Yep.
platform do you frequent? Are you frequently on here on Instagram or are you on Facebook? And what's
So
your
it's
handle?
it kind of goes back and forth
Yeah.
because like this week I have been battling the cold and my kids have been
I'm so
battling
sorry.
colds. We all tested negative for COVID.
Hallelujah.
Right? But man, the congestion and the
It's
the
terrible.
mucus is terrible. So like I think I made one post on each platform a day.
Yeah.
I'm primarily on Facebook more, but I'm trying to learn the Instagram platform because it's easier. It's
It's so
easier than
easy.
Facebook.
It's like you just throw up a picture, you throw up a
Exactly. Put some
whatever.
hashtags on it, take pictures of your life. Like that's a thing. So
Yeah.
I have a podcast and I have my free platform. I'm going to link both of those in the chat window here.
Yeah. So
Um,
when I save this,
mhm.
um, I'm gonna tag you, and then if you can just put
Awesome.
that in those comments, so it's
Yeah,
forever and ever
absolutely.
gonna be available to everybody that watches. Um, yeah. So wow, so much going on. I'm definitely excited to kind of tune into some of your podcasts here and
Okay.
listen. I'd love to. I want to hear the story all about. I like how Papa is relaxing behind you. Oh, oh, where I'm at here. Yes,
Right.
well, but yeah, so I look forward to hearing the story about how you met your husband. I love love, and I love the fact that it was a spiritual connection. I'm
Yeah.
all about that because, like, I think people like romanticize love
Hmm.
so much,
Yeah.
and
They
they don't
do.
really pay that much attention to the spirituality behind it.
And it's interesting too because yeah, like my husband is not on the same spiritual page as me.
Yeah,
And so working together and watching the way that we've grown together through our relationship, it's definitely had a lot of challenges, especially early on because, you know, we met when we were young and we didn't know who we were or where we
yeah,
were going or who we
yeah,
wanted to be.
yeah,
And I think sometimes that's even harder for some people
for sure.
because they don't know what it's like without.
Yeah,
And I feel really fortunate because we are just so compatible for the way that
yeah,
we are. And
yeah,
then watching him support and watching me work, like he has the ability to do a lot of things and he doesn't because he doesn't want to be out, right? He doesn't want to
yeah,
be out of that psychic closet or out of the no, I don't see that much. Like I don't see that much. I don't feel that much. And he really does. So it's always
wow. It's a continuous
it's a
battle with
continuous
him.
thing
Wow.
because then he watches me work with people and he's just awed by it. Like there's no question in his mind that it works because
Yeah,
he watches me work with people.
yeah,
And he's started to come out of that shell a lot more. And so sharing some of that experience on the podcast and what that's really like, because we've always worked at our relationship. And that's hugely important. And that's one of the things that I really want to convey to people. Like, relationships are a lot of work, but if only one of you are working at it, it ain't gonna work.
it's not. I was just saying that to somebody today. Um, that exact same thing.
Yeah,
Oh, great! Thanks for linking that.
there you
It's
go.
not. It's not just for one person. Relationship is two. It's a pair, right? Both of you
Exactly.
have to be putting in the same amount of effort, and you both have to go into it willing
Right,
to put in the same amount of effort. And I know
right.
that a lot of people have those conversations and understand the mindsets of who it is that they're actually with, or even if you understand it, you think that it's going to change. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure to be able to sit
Absolutely.
and just chat with you. Um,
Absolutely.
I mean, my mind has literally been awakened. You guys saw it,
Oh,
like in person. Me sitting here being like, wait a minute, I choose not to be offended. Like that is what I'm
love
taking
it.
away from me.
Love it.
So, if there's one thing that you can kind of leave us with, what's one comment that you can
Mm.
leave us with, if nothing else, if you hadn't said anything else this entire time, what's one thing to kind of live by? Or it's hard, right? I'm sorry.
No, no, I got it. Um, you are always way more than the opinions that you have devised about yourself.
Mm,
You are so much more than that. So much more.
wow, wow, wow. Because you're greater than who you even think that you are. The opinion of who you even think that you are. That's so heavy, and I hope that's actually that someone can actually absorb that, because that's saying a lot without saying a lot. Like that's everything. And yeah, so thank you so much for just sharing your light with us today.
Yeah,
And I just look forward to just continue to watch your journey, to watch you grow. Might definitely have you back on here with maybe a few
definitely.
other ladies. We'll see, because
Awesome.
yeah, I would love to get you on a panel or something like that.
That'd be awesome.
I just love your mindset. So
Awesome.
it's been great. Thank you all so much for joining us today. If you're watching this playback, thank you so much for supporting. Share this with a friend, anyone that you think could find value in our conversation today. And yeah, we'll definitely be back. I believe next Saturday. I cannot remember who I have coming on. Oh my God, this is terrible. This is
And
so bad. All I have on my mind is all the food I have to cook on Thursday.
right, right. Well, thank you
So,
so much for
yeah,
having me. Thank you
yeah, of
for
course,
holding space and sharing this with me.
of
I
course.
absolutely love your light. I love it so much. I love seeing you and sharing in this.
Thank you, Amanda. All right,
Thank
so until we see you next time, bye
All right.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.